Alright, today we're going to go over 1.2 homework part 1. It's page 15, 1, 2 to 26 even. Hopefully it's just even for you guys, but I know the afternoon classes, you guys have to do all of them, so. But this is what we're going to use for this one. Remember, for this one, basically we're going to be focusing on vertex form, right, which is right here. So we're going to be focusing on vertex form. Step 1, find A, H, and K. Step 2, find the vertex. Plot the axis of symmetry. Make an XY chart. And then you're going to plot your point to reflect. Or since we'll be using intercept form, there you go. A, P, and Q. Use the vertex formula. P plus Q over 2 in parentheses on top. That's going to be the middle of your XY chart. And you make your XY chart. Alright, number 1, pretty easy. A quadratic function in the form y equals a x minus h squared plus k is in vertex form. Remember, one set of parentheses is vertex form. Two sets is intercept. And no sets is standard form. That's it. Alright, it says how to find a quadratic function's max or min value when the function is in intercept form. Well, first one, you have to find a, because that's going to tell you whether it's a max or min. Remember, if a is positive, it's going to have a minimum. If a is negative, it's going to have a max. Then you're going to have to find the vertex. You're going to be using P plus Q all over 2. That's going to be some number. You're going to plug that number into the original problem. And that's going to, whatever that's going to be the value. So that's going to be your max or min value. And that's it. Alright, so number 4, we have vertex form. So the first thing to do is find A, H, and K. So A is 1. Remember, if you don't see H, it has to be 1, or A. H, we don't trust the dirty H hanging off their X. So although say negative 3, I must change that to positive 3. K is right there. There is no K, so this time K is 0. That means my vertex is going to be at 3, 0. So I'm going to go over 3, put a dot. My dotted line, that's called the axis of symmetry. I'm going to need that. I'm going to make an XY chart. I'm going to put 3, 4, 5. I get 0. If I want to check my work, I plug in 3 just to make sure that should be 0. And that'll keep you from making a mistake if you forget to change the sign of H. I plug in 4. I get 4 minus 3 squared, which is 1. 1 squared is 1. Then I do 5 minus 3 squared is 2. 2 squared is 4. So now I'm going to go over 4 up 1, put a dot. And over 5 up 4, put a dot. Now I'm going to reflect it over. So that's how I'm going to get this dot here. And I'm going to go over 2 blocks. Now I'm going to make a nice U. That's a terrible U, but it's supposed to be a nice smooth U. And that's it. Make sure you have arrows on the end, because this does go up forever. And that's it. Alright, number 6, same exact concept. This time I have an A, which is 3. An H, which is positive 7. Remember, we changed the sign because we don't trust that dirty H hanging other X. K is cool, so we keep it at negative 1. That means our vertex is at positive 7, negative 1. So I go over 7, and down negative 1. Now, because I want to make the smaller XY chart, I have to put the dotted line here because I'm going to use those to reflect. That's the axis of symmetry. It's not part of the graph. It's just there so we can have a line of reflection so I don't have to pick as many points. Now I'm going to put 7, 8, and 9 I'm going to plug them into this. I don't have to plug in 7, but if I want to plug in 7, it will give me -1. That's how I check it and make sure I didn't mess up and pick the wrong h. Now I'm going to plug in 8, so 8 minus 7 is 1. 1 squared is 1, times 3 is 3, so I get 3 minus 1, which is 2. Now I'm going to pick 9. 9 minus 7 squared is 2 squared, which is 4, times 3, which is 12. 12 minus 1 is 11. So I'm going to go over 7, down 1, over 8, up to 2. I'm going to go over 9, up to 11. Now I reflect it. Now guys, I knew this was going to be a little bit thinner because I knew this was going to be a little bit thinner because A is bigger than 1. That makes it thinner. The bigger A gets, the thinner the graph gets. So there we go. And that's it for 6. Alright, once again, do the same thing. We have A is 2. H is 1. K is -3. So I'm making it, my vertex is going to be at 1, -3. So I go over 1, down to 3, and I put a dot. That's where my dotted line goes. Make my XY chart. Now you guys, you can make it smaller, so you don't always have to go, you don't always have to go bigger, or I can continue to make it, just add 1 and add 1. So 1 is -3, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 squared is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, minus 3, so I get 15. 3, I plug it in, I get 3 plus 1, which is 4, 4 squared is 16, I get 32 minus 3, which is 29. So I'm going to make my graph, my y values go by 2. Which means I have to change this. And actually I'm going to make it go by 3s. So I'm going to make my y's go by 3s. So I'm going to go over 1, down to -3, put a dot, dotted line. I'm going to go over 2 up to 15. And I'm going to go over 3 up to 29. So right there, I'm going to reflect it. And that's it for 8. Alright, so number 10, A is -1/4. So remember, that makes it a frowny face. So if my graph's on a frowny face, I know I need to recheck it. Also, the fraction being a number really close to 0 tells me it's going to be a wider graph. H, remember, we never trust that H, so that H turns into -2. K is cool, so we trust them, 1. So my vertex is going to be at -2, +1. Left 2, up to 1, put a dot. Make my XY chart. Put -2, -1, and 0. -2, 1. If I want to check that, I plug in -2, because sometimes I make a mistake and I want to check my work, and I plug it in and it does work. Now I'm going to plug in -1/4. I get -1 plus 2. So I end up getting 3/4. 0. I get -1/4 times 0 plus 2 squared, so I get -1 plus 1, which is 0. You can leave it that way, or if you want to pick like 2, you can totally pick 2, which gives me -3. So I'm going to go -1, I'm going to go 0, 0. Remember, I put a dotted line here. That makes it so I don't have to make the big XY chart. And like I skipped, if you want to put -1 and 3/4 there, it's right here. I think it's going to be hard to make a U. Almost looks like a line, so I'm glad I picked another point. I'm going to reflect them. Reflect them. 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away. 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away. And I know it's going to be a U. Put my arrows on the end. And there we go. That's it for Alright, number 12. It says, what is the vertex of the graph of the function? Well, h is negative 2. K is negative 5. A is 3. It means the vertex is at negative 2, negative 5. This one does not say the graph. It is a multiple choice, and the answer is B. And that's it. Alright. 14, we're in intercept form because we have two sets of parentheses. So A is 1 because I don't see an A. P is negative 1. Remember, we don't trust anybody hanging out with an X, so I changed that to a negative. And then Q is positive 3. Remember, we don't trust anybody hanging out in a room with your X. So, I do my vertex formula for intercept form, so I say negative 1 plus 3 inside the parentheses all over 2. That's going to give me 2 plus 2, or negative 1 plus 3, which is 2, over 2, which is 1. So I make an XY chart. 1 goes in the middle. I put negative 1 in the first spot, 3 in the last spot. I don't have to do any work for negative 1 and 3, but I can if I want to. I can plug them back in. It should work. And it does. So I'm going to check 1 plus 1, which is 2. 1 minus 3, which is negative 2. So I get 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. So I'm going to go right 1 down to 4. Once again, that's my dotted line. Now I'm going to do 3 over 3, 0. Negative 1, 0. Remember, this is a U, not a V. And that's it for 14. Alright, number 16, we're back to intercept form. So I have A is 2. H is positive 5. Remember, we always change the number with X to the opposite. And it's not H. It's P is positive 5. Q is positive 1. So that changed and that changed. Now I'm going to say X equals P plus Q all over 2. Remember, I put in parentheses so you don't mess up when you plug in your calculator. So you have to do the top first. It's 6 over 2, which is 3. So I make an XY chart. I go 1, 3, and 5. Actually, let's change it a little bit, just so you don't have to go the smaller one first. 5, 3, 1. 5 and 1 are 0. I plug in 3, 2, 3 minus 5, which is negative 2. 3 minus 1, which is 2. So I get 2 times negative 2 times positive 2, which is going to be negative 8. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. 1, 0. I go over 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, down to 8. Dotted line, because remember, that's the axis of symmetry. Now I make my U. And that's it for 16. Alright, once again, everything's exactly the same. A is negative 4. P is negative 3. Q is negative 7. Remember, A tells me that it's going to be a frowny face. Also tells me that it's going to be a skinny graph, because negative 4 is further away from 0. Remember, the further away that number gets from 0, the skinnier the graph. I'm going to make negative 3 plus negative 7. Remember, you're all over 2. So I get negative 10 over 2, which is negative 5. So I make my XY chart. I put negative 5 in the middle, put negative 3 on top, negative 7 below. So I have 0 and 0. Now I gotta do negative 4 times negative 5 plus 3 to negative 5 plus 7. So I get negative 4 times negative 2 times 2. So I get positive 16. So I'm going to make the y's go by 2. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I go left 3. Now look, the x's stay the same. I go left 7. I go left 5. I go up to 16. That's my dotted line. Sits in the middle. I make a U. And there we go, that's 18. 20, same exact concept. F of x equals -2, x minus 3 times quantity x plus 4. So A is -2, P is +3, Q is -4. Remember, I changed that. This tells me it's going to be a frowny face. Going to be a little bit skinnier, but not as skinny as the last one. So now I'm going to do 3 plus -4 all over 2. So that's your x equals. I'm going to get -1/2. Now I'm going to put 3, -1/2, and 4 on my xy chart. 0 for -3 and 4. Now I'm going to do -2 times -1/2 minus 3, and then -1/2 plus 4. So I get -2 times -3.5 times -3.5, and that was +3.5 for the second set of parentheses. So I get -2 times -7/2 times +7/2. So it becomes 49 over 2, which turns into 24.5. So I'm going to go 3, 0, put a dot, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost forgot the negative sign there. Put a dot. So guys, notice I almost forgot that negative sign in front of the -4, and I noticed that -1/2 wasn't going to be right in the middle of 3 and 4, so I noticed something wrong, and I just saw I forgot the negative side. So I go -1/2 up to 24.5. Let's make this go by 3, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and a half will be right here. Dotted line. So there we go. And that's it for 20. Alright, what is the vertex of x minus 6? Remember, A is -1, which just means it's a frowny face, so that's not going to help us here. P is 6, Q is -4. Remember, I changed both those. So I do 6 plus -4 all over 2. I get 2 over 2, because remember I do the top first, which is 1. That's not the vertex, that's the x value of the vertex, so I got to plug 1 in. So I plug 1 in, I say -1 minus 6, 1 plus 4, I get -5 times +5, I end up with 25. So that's A. Alrighty, so 24 is not a graph problem. It is just putting it in the standard form. So basically we need to make the parentheses go away, so you're just going to have to use FOIL. So I use FOIL, I get y equals x goes to x, gives me x squared, x goes to 3, gives me plus 3x, 4 goes to x, gives me 4x, 4 goes to 3, gives me 12. I end up with y equals x squared plus 7x plus 12. That's in standard form. I can even go further and say that A is 1, now we're finding B is 7, C is 12. Done. Alright, 26 is the same exact concept. You have to use FOIL, so I'm going to go x goes to x, gives me x squared, x goes to -6, gives me -6x, 1 goes to x, gives me plus 1x, 1 goes to -6, gives me -6. Now the 4 didn't do anything, so that just stays there. Remember, h of x is just a fancy way to say y, so that doesn't really do anything either. You know, I almost wrote it wrong. I'm going to combine those two, so I end up with 4x squared minus 5x minus 6. Now I'm going to distribute the 4, because remember, I want 0 parentheses, which is why I do 4x squared minus 20x minus 24. If I want to go further, I could say A is 4, B is -20, C is -24. And that's it. Done.